All right, welcome back. Our guest is on set, and let's welcome Dr. Faith B. Israel, Secretary of Health and Wellness.
Social Protection.
And Social Protection,
yes,
of course.
Yes.
All right, so welcome, Doc. It's been a while, and how have you been?
It's been a while, yes it has.
Yes.
I've been pretty good, you know. Honestly, I'm a little tired, but I'm good. I'm pretty good.
Very good. All right, let's get straight into it. Well, the relocation of the health division. Why and where is it going?
Okay, so we all remember a couple years ago when the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection moved into the building where we are now, which is the one right after Cost Cutters is how I usually describe it, across from school and so forth. At that time, there were questions about the size of it, the space and all of that, whether it was appropriate, the fact that you had to cross a blind corner to get to it and all of that, the fact that we had, 10 parking spots, 20 parking spots total, all of that. When I came in, I realized that the issue had not been resolved. Those issues were structural issues. You can't resolve them. So we've decided to move to a bigger space, a space that would incorporate the entire division, a space that would actually allow practically everyone except public health to move into a single space. So that is really the why. We need space to do what we need to do. The social workers were all in, as a matter of fact, the entire social protection was in a place that was probably double the size of the studio, which says something about people being interviewed confidentially and that kind of stuff. So we've decided to move over to Montessori Drive, which is inside Glen Road. Easy way to describe it is, I'm sure most people who've gone to community development notice that there was a big structure being developed there. So that is where we are going. So the entire Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, including units like mediation and probation and so forth, which was satellite areas, including the headquarters of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, will move into that building. So it would really be a one-stop shop.
Okay, and the timeline for this relocation?
So we are doing another mad dash. We are hoping.
A mad dash.
Yes, it's a mad dash, but you know, the relocation committee has actually been working and planning this. So even though it seems like a mad dash from outside, it's been happening in the background. On Thursday and Friday, the main office will be closed. So the office where we are now will be closed. And we are hoping that by Monday, we would be able to reopen over at the new facility.
Okay. Okay, of course. And the public, I mean, is there a grand opening or
cutting a ribbon? Is that necessary, no?
I don't know that is necessary. I mean, we're just moving from one space to the next. I am hoping that the ribbon cutting that will happen would be individuals coming and getting good service, getting proper service. You know, we just hired a bunch of social workers and therapeutic counselors and so forth, and we now actually have rooms designated for them to do their work outside of their office space and that kind of thing. So my hope is that when people come and they get proper thing, that would be the ribbon cutting.
All right, fantastic, nice. I know there was the CARICOM Regional Hospitality Health Safety and Environment Standard launch about 5 days ago, and you made a comment. You said what we do in health affects education, tourism and other fields. I want you to just elaborate on the importance of health and of course give us your feedback or your postmortem from that launch.
Well, that launch was literally Tobago indicating that we are open for business and indicating that as a tourism sector we understand the importance of health. Over the last 2 or 3 years when COVID happened, I think that is when everybody realized that if you're not healthy, everything else shuts down. The cruise ships stopped coming. By the way, we got one yesterday for the first time since. You know, the planes stopped coming, all of that. And that is because there was a health concern all over the world. So the CARPHA, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, is the organization that designed these standards, and these are standards for water safety, for food safety, for dealing with infections, for that kind of stuff, for the tourism sector specifically. And they decided that, you know what, Tobago is showing such progress that this is the place they wanted to launch this entire CARICOM-wide, these entire CARICOM-wide standards. And we actually thank them for that, because that also put a spotlight on us, telling the world, hey, we're open, we're ready for business.
All right, let's go into COVID. COVID. Is there anything else you want to speak to?
No, I just want to thank CAFA for doing that as well. I want to publicly thank CAFA for doing that.
All right, so let's go now to our COVID update, and that's why I'm asking, where are we with COVID in terms of numbers? And obviously, we are feeling, we are breathing a sigh of relief that we don't have all the restrictions. However, it's still advisable that we take the precautions necessary.
Right, so COVID is at the point where we are now. There was a point last week where the CEO sent an email to me saying, we have no COVID patients in the hospitals. And he was so excited to send that one email that says we have no COVID patients. Right now, I honestly can't remember the numbers, but we are at the point where if you may have 1 or 2 patients, and those are patients who, like we said in the beginning, had comorbidity. So you have other health concerns, which allows the COVID to be even more of a concern than it is normally. So the numbers, we've gone from doing the daily updates to doing weekly updates. We would actually have the weekly update coming out today. The numbers are usually in the single digits or in the double digits, as in teens, over the last couple weeks, which we are very, very happy about. And we are at that point where it's no longer a pandemic, where we are now at endemic stage, and we are probably even moving away from endemic because it's not constantly high. We are at the point where it's as a matter of fact, when I talk to my County Medical Officer of Health, the CMOH, she indicates that we have way more cases of influenza, just regular flu, than we have of COVID at this point.
Very good. I saw you boasting and singing. I can see clearly now, given that cataract surgery is now, and I'll ask you about the General Hospital here in Scarborough, or Signal Hill, and Roxborough. Just tell us about the services that are there available for eye surgery. Is it at both hospitals, or is it only in Scarborough?
Right, so this is what is happening with that. And it was actually one of the clients who, as soon as I got up the step and got into the ward, he started singing. I can see clearly now. It was so funny. But what we were doing is, what you saw in that clip was actually clients who had just received the cataract surgery, which was part of the cataract backlog clearing program that we are doing at the Roxborough health facility. And I'm still saying health facility because we ain't reached hospital status just yet. Not yet. We get in there. But health facility. And what that was is we recognize that because of COVID and because of other things, there were a lot of people who should have had a cataract surgery over the last 2-3 years, and they could not get the surgery. It had to be pushed back. We asked the Tobago Regional Health Authority to say, okay, who are these people? We got a list of about 200-300 people, and we said, okay, let us use this opportunity to just do this surgery for them so that they can see. A cataract surgery is actually a very simple, relatively simple surgery. And what I experienced that day going up was individuals saying, my goodness, I did not even realize how much I was not seeing until I did the surgery yesterday, and today I am seeing again, which is why the gentleman was singing, I can see clearly.
Okay.
So that is just part of a larger project that we are doing to clear some of the backlogs. We plan to do other types of projects like that soon. I will announce them when we have everything in place, but we recognize that there are a lot of people who are just sitting waiting to do simple things, and we just needed to put some emphasis on those simple things to clear them out so that the hospitals can start functioning normally now.
Okay, and you're talking about persons sitting waiting. I know when you came into office, one of the burning issues was the waiting times at the Scarborough Hospital. What is the development with regards to that?
So the waiting time has gotten better. It's not at the standard that I would like it to be. But then I guess I have to remind myself, we've only been here for less than a year. One of the things that causes extended waiting times is the fact that we need diagnostic tools. We need to know what is wrong with the client before we can treat them. So one of the commitments we've made for this fiscal is to actually look at the diagnostic tools, meaning look at the MRI machines, the X-ray machines, the ultrasound machines, and so forth, to see what we have and to see whether we can spend some resources in this fiscal year to improve those, so that when someone comes in, they don't have to wait for these machines. So that is actually something that we are going to work on, and I'm hoping that when we do these things within the next couple of months, we would see better turnaround time in A&E and so forth. In addition, for those who are going back to the Roxborough Health Facility, for those who are on the east, we have actually opened an A&E at the Roxborough Health Facility, but it is only from Monday to Friday from 7 to 7 p.m. So we have a bunch of doctors, nurses, and so forth who are sitting there waiting. So if you're in the east, you don't have to come all the way down to the west to get the services. But again, we do not have the inpatient, meaning we do not have the wards. The way we traditionally think of wards, as in you're coming and you're sleeping in and so forth, that is not available just yet at the Roxborough Health Facility. When that becomes available, you will hear me say we now have a Roxborough Hospital.
And you'll be singing as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's deal now with the TRHA board. Where are we with that? Is it established? Is they ready to announce the members on the board, the chairman of the board? Let's talk.
So I will announce. Okay, so this is the processor. We had to find people. I told you last time, several months ago, that we needed to find people who we thought were competent. We have a group of competent people who we just got word from the cabinet last week that the cabinet approved it. So what we will do is actually send out a full press release outlining who those individuals are. We have a board orientation for a couple of days that we have planned. It was really we had originally planned it for this week, but because of the move and because of everything, we've decided to push it back to next week. So we will have the orientation happening next week for the board, but the cabinet has already approved it, so it's just a matter now of saying who they are. Honestly, I would prefer to have the official thing done before making the announcement. But the board has been approved by cabinet.
I see the excitement. I see very excitement to announce this because it's been long overdue. It has been, yes?
It has been long overdue, but you know, I am actually, it's one of the things that we've gotten flack for, we've gotten a bit of beating for, but I make no apologies for it, because I think what we needed to do was find the people who we think were the best, and that is what we've done.
Okay, and of course with the employee contracts and so on, and with the 3-year contracts and that situation, can you just clear the air with what is taking place and how many employees have been given contracts?
Oh, how many employees have been given contracts? No, we have last count, we have probably about 400 or 500 who have gotten contracts, because there were those who were there on the short term. So two different things are happening at the same time. We have those who were on the short term, month to month, who were employed at the TRHA for the COVID period. They will have been given contracts, but they're giving it staggeringly, because you don't want a situation where all 300 people are going home at the same time because all got the contracts at the same time. So there was a HR management thing that was happening. But everyone who has had their contract before, who has had their contract come to an end now and is renewing their contract with the TRHA, they are also getting 3-year contracts. And it is really a stopgap measure because one of the boards at the last sitting, or maybe the sitting before, I spoke about the fact that one of the decisions that a previous board made was to turn from having public service to having contract employment at the TRHA, and it's actually one of the concerns that we are trying to figure out how to reverse. And using these 3-year contracts is actually one way of at least giving people more stability instead of having the 1-year or 2-year contracts that they may have had before.
Okay, fantastic. And I need to ask you, you can't sit here on Tobago Channel 5 and I not ask you about, of course, this is the first time speaking with you on set since being appointed Deputy Chief Secretary. And so, of course, congratulations on that. But with regards to balancing both portfolios, just to walk us through that.
So it is a difficult process, because we all know health, wellness, and social protection,
exactly.
if in and of itself is difficult. One of the things we've done, and we've actually not made many pronouncements about the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, because we wanted the budgets to come to an end and be passed in Parliament and so forth. So what we are doing now is actually critically looking at exactly what the Office of the Deputy Chief Secretary is doing, has been doing, and where we want it to go. Mr. Farley Chavez Augustine, the Chief Secretary, has announced, I think he announced, and I hope I'm not speaking about a private conversation publicly, But he has spoken about the fact that at the 1-year mark, we do want to make some changes within the administration in terms of who does what and that kind of thing. So at that point, we will make formal announcements about what is happening with the office of the DCS and where we go with that, and some little changes that after a year, we're saying, okay, is this working, is this not working, let's see how we can move this around. But it was really, really fun for the week that he was gone, because he went to London. Yes. I was the deputy chief secretary, and there was one function that I had to, I stood in for him, which was the wreath laying memorial, the Remembrance Day is what we call it in Trinidad and Tobago, the Remembrance Day celebration, and that was fun. It was actually, when I came out of my door and walked down the hill and got into the official car, my aunt and cousin, they were like, oh my God.
They like it for you. It fits you.
Yes. So that was fun. I enjoyed that process.
Okay.
And it is what it is.
All right, but let's get to I saw when you walked in and you laid your wreath, and I was saying, yes, Dr. Fit does fit the role. However, let's get down to the seriousness of the role of the DCS. And you said that in a year's time you will evaluate and you will come up with what the functions are. The previous DCS function or his role was to seek investors outside of Trinidad and Tobago, go abroad and to bring in investors. How do you see yourself balancing? You just said health is a hot potato by itself to manage and to juggle both. How do you see yourself? Let's say that your portfolio includes going outside of Trinidad and Tobago to seek investors as your predecessor would have been doing. How do you see working that?
So as you've actually seen thus far, that is one of the areas that we are critically looking to see where is that best place. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the Chief Secretary Farley did while he was in London for World Travel Market, was actually do some of that seeking investment, foreign investment, and that kind of thing. So that is a decision that we are still making, where is that best placed given the situation that we have now. But I am up to any task. I am up to the fact that I was the one chosen by my colleagues because we had to actually sit and vote for it. I am up to any task, and I am willing to do whatever the Chief Sec thinks is necessary for me to do going forward.
Very good. All right. And staying with Deputy Chief Secretary, of course, it sounds good and it rolls off the tongue. Dr. Fit, he is Deputy Chief Secretary and have started well. All right, so priority number one, in your view, let's say that you had to advise the Chief on something, and I know you do that in council when you all gather and so on, but as a Deputy Chief Secretary, there's more latitude sitting from where you are now, and maybe a closer relationship with his Chief Secretary in going forward. Obviously, you do have your own vision. And what is priority on the list for you being the new Deputy Chief Secretary?
So, one of the things we've had to grapple with over the last couple weeks is the fact that the rain seemed to not stop falling.
Yeah, but
I am honestly sick and tired of it.
Oh my God.
Not just because it's raining, because rain in and of itself is fine, but because of the damage it is doing to our infrastructure. So we are actually spending quite a lot of time as we speak trying to figure out where we are getting the monies from to fix all of this failing infrastructure, because we're talking about significant places. I mean, very close to where I live in Bad Rock, we are literally telling people, don't drive Pandy Road, not drive Pandy Road, because we are seeing what is happening above, but what people are not seeing is what is happening below the road. We've actually started going through the process of applying for national and international funding so that we have the millions that are required to fix the failing infrastructure. So I see people complaining, for example, about the roads, the potholes and that kind of thing, and it really is because of all of the rains, all of the landslides, all of those things. And what we are doing is grappling. So that is part of our mandate right now. This is something that we came into. We were not necessarily prepared for the amount of damage that has happened, and it's two things happening. We have the rains doing the damage, but it is doing the damage because the infrastructure is old. We have not had new roads in quite some time. We've not had new anything in quite some time. As a matter of fact, somebody was telling me that when they look at pictures of Bad Rock, the braces and stuff like that were braces from there 60 years ago. And we've not done anything new since then. So that is a big part of what the administration generally is looking at. How do we treat with this failing infrastructure? Because if your roads are breaking away, we can't do anything. You can't get to anywhere. You can't do anything. And that is one thing we have to look at now. And that is something that I have actually been chatting with him about. How do we get to where we need to be as it relates to getting the funding to do the kind of work that is necessary?
Okay, and the Chief Sec spoke about a rebudgetary exercise following the national budget reading. Where are we with regards to that?
So the entire Executive Council, well, more than the Executive Council, all of the secretaries, assistant secretaries, councillors, with our administrators and senior technical staff actually had a 2 or 3 day, I wouldn't say a retreat, a 2 or 3 day exercise a couple of weeks ago. On Thursday at the sitting, the Chief Sec will actually speak in detail about the things that we have identified at that point. Because, I mean, I guess it's a normal thing. We ask for how much billion, we get half or a little more than half, and we know how to figure out what we're doing with the money that we have.
Right.
So that is where we are. So on Thursday you would hear in more details from the Chief and from others in terms of exactly where we are going, what are the priorities for this fiscal, given the budgetary constraints that we have.
Okay, fantastic. And I know prior to even the national reading, when the Chief Sec would have made his proposal, he mentioned that 900 and something million would have been allocated to the division, your division, of course. And now looking back at the conversation we had some months ago, and we spoke about health tourism. I want to get into that. What are the steps that we are taking right now to encourage and to promote and execute health tourism?
So there are several small steps that need to take place, and yes, he does remind me every opportunity that my division gets the most money, which means he expects the most. He reminds me of that all the time. Now, health tourism means finding a way to use health to bring people onto the island. That includes ensuring that we actually have proper health facilities, which is part of the reason we are working so hard at getting our diagnostic tools up and running. So, for example, if we spend an 8 million or 10 million on a brand new MRI machine, we can then say to the world, we have one of the best MRI machines. Even if you're from Trinidad, come over. Once you're doing it, you know, on a weekend or something, you have to pay for the MRI versus getting it done for free. If you're Tobagonian, you could get it for free. But if you are coming, you could pay for it. So that is one step in going in that direction. We need to ensure that we provide the appropriate services at top class or world class levels to be able to get people to come in. Another discussion we've actually started having is there are actually several medical schools outside of Trinidad and Tobago who need space to do their clinical rotations. So we've actually started having conversations, I won't say who they are just yet, with institutions who are actually willing to send their students to Tobago for weeks and months to do their clinical rotations in Tobago. That in and of itself is because remember, you're bringing people as a result of health. That is one way to do it. So we are looking at the different ways. Instead of trying something huge in one go, we are doing it piece by piece, and then hopefully at the end of a couple of years we would see where we have real medical tourism happening, because we have all of these little parts that have come together to make our health product.
All right, and staying with that, I've ventured out into the ocean. I'm a diver now. I'm not certified, but there's this issue of bends in the event that you come up too quick, because my instructor reminded me, remember when you're coming up slowly, and if you come up too fast you could get bends, and that means that your the blood is well, not contaminated, but air gets into your bloodstream. Let's talk about the facility to accommodate divers in varying parts of the island. There are divers in Speyside, there's one there. However, on the western end, just speak to us about that accommodation for diving tourists.
So, and we actually do have one of the best hyperbaric chambers in Trinidad and Tobago, at the Roxborough Health Facility right now. And that is one of the areas where we are looking at expanding the number of hyperbaric chambers available. I actually met with a representative from embassies, and they have said that they actually put out notices saying, if you are a diver, if you have issues, find yourself in Roxborough. because the hyperbaric chamber has such world-class accolades, and the guys there, the folks there working actually are at the top of their profession. So it is one of the areas. We have actually had individuals. There was a gentleman that came from Barbados, I think, who came and got services that was paid for. We actually had a couple months ago a child from Trinidad who was having brain developmental issues come in and do hyperbaric therapy to assist with the developmental issues of the brain of that child. So we are actually showing examples of where people are beginning to come in and it's working. So it's just a matter of ramping up, which is why we are looking at getting an additional chamber as well.
Let's deal with, as you talk about therapy, water therapy for strokes and all the other ailments. We have the best oceans in the world. Let's claim that, right? There are folks who would want to come to Trinidad or Tobago rather, to get that therapy. I'm talking about qualified therapists for water treatment therapy. I don't know the right term. I'm putting it as simple as I can put it. That is an attraction by itself. So I am going to Tobago to to have therapy for my stroke. Let's speak to that.
And that is something that, you know, Aqua Joggers,
yes,
for example, is an organization that has been doing that for quite some time. We, you know, within the space, know them as the old people who does be out.
But they actually is a type.
But it actually is a very important and a critical component when you are doing rehabilitative care for things like strokes and so forth, because the water gives you buoyancy. It allows you to not feel the weight of yourself, but it still allows you to do the exercises. And that is something that, given that we are surrounded by water, that we can really explore even further to bring people in. So definitely. And the reality is, though, we also have some of the best physiotherapists on the island. I mean, most people don't know that many of our physiotherapists in Tobago are the ones that accompany our national Olympic and athletic teams to go out when they are going out on meets and so on, from right here.
Great,
so
great.
We have some of the best.
Of course, and just for our viewers and listeners who are just joining in, just give them the update with regards to the relocation. I know you said that the offices would be closed this week at some point in time, but just give them that reminder.
Certainly. So the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, including the head office of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, including some of our satellite offices like Mediation and Probations and Litter Eradication Program and all of those, will be moving into a single location in Glen Road, Montessori Drive, number 5 Montessori Drive, which is really that big building that was vacant opposite of ComDev. So the entire division will be moving to there, except public health. Public health will stay where they are, right, for now. But TRHA and all of the other services from the division will be moving to Montessori Drive. The division, the headquarters, will be closed on Thursday and Friday of this week to accommodate people doing the move, and we are hoping that by Monday morning, bright and early, everything would have been settled, and we are open for business on Monday morning, which I think is the 28th of November. So if you need more information, you can call 639-3395 extension 47111. Again, 639-3395 extension 47111 for more information.
Very good. All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap. If there's any, well, we've shared the information there, but clearly, Doc, and we want to wish you all the best. Again, congratulations in your new position as Deputy Chief Secretary. And you just outlined your vision. Obviously, Bad Rock is really a risk. And of course, you're advising people not to use the roadway. Just to repeat that so that we get clear on that.
Yes, no, the Chief Secretary was very clear last week where he said the road is closed to regular, normal traffic. So we are asking people, if you are going to the east, you go up what is known as Engine Town, which is the road.
Zion Hill?
Well, not quite Zion Hill, not even quite Zion Hill. Before, by the Seventh-day Church of God, that road up there, you go up there and go around and go all the way down to Long Bed. So you miss most of Bell Garden. If you are coming from the east, coming west, you come up Long Bed and you can come down Zion Hill and traverse. Except for large vehicles, so you know, the large trucks and those things, we are allowing those vehicles to go through Bad Rock, because if it's really really just one-way traffic. If it's limited traffic, it's one-way traffic. Then you don't have to drive so close to the edge. And we are allowing that because going up Long Bed and so forth is pretty difficult. One of the things that Trevor and at the Division of Infrastructure are looking at is to see if we could actually cut another road quickly so that that winding thing going through Long Bed and Job Trace and so forth, so that is something that we are looking at the engineers and so forth. Honestly, I don't know. Trevor does not sleep here because we have all of these infrastructural issues that everybody looking at him to solve. But that is what we are working on right now. So again, please, I know it's long, I know it's an inconvenience, but it really is for your safety.
Very good. All right.
To do that.
I guess it's just a few minutes before we close, so
yes,
we're going to keep you on set and we're going to wrap. Yes. So.
Yes. Well, I'm seeing that we have you for a few minutes again. We are recognizing International Men's Day over the weekend. Of course, celebrated around the world, and I understand that the division is doing a 4-week men's health clinic. And you just speak to that?
Doctor.
Sure. The division is actually partnering with the Tobago Regional Health Authority, where we having several things happening. One, the Blue Room the Blue Room has been open for individuals to use it, but we are encouraging people to come in. We're encouraging men to come in and use the services at the Blue Room, which is up what we call Old Fort by the old hospital. Come in and use the services there. There are also other training activities that are happening over the next couple of days as part of dealing with International Men's Day. But one of the things I want to highlight, though, is the fact that, and I spoke about it yesterday, we have to recognize that as a society, we are responsible for the men who we develop. And we have a situation now where we are saying that we are breeding monsters and we're trying to figure out where these monsters are coming from. But we are the ones who are breeding them, and I give this example all the time. If a 2 or 3-year-old little girl runs and falls and has a cut and they come crying, we hug them, we kiss the boo-boo, we say, oh, sweet things. If a 2 or 3-year-old boy falls, gets a cut and come crying, what do we do? Yeah, girl? Where you coming crying for? And what that does is actually tells that 2 or 3-year-old child, you do not have emotions. You are not allowed to feel pain. You are not allowed to express your pain. And when that child who you've taught to not express their pain then becomes a man at 25 and cannot express their pain and is now violent, we're asking why? We are the ones who created that. So we have to be very, very conscious as a society about what we are doing, the messages we are sending our boys and our girls that has caused where we are now.
Excellent. All right, and of course, so I just give you opportunity to extend happy International Men's Day.
So several things have happened within the last couple of days. As you said off air, every day is a day. Yes. We've had International Men's Day. We are now talking about International Children's Day happening. By the way, let me just go a quick plug. The Child and Adolescent Center, which is up Old Fort again, is actually having an open day today. The kids there did a mural yesterday, so if you go up there, you'll see a very pretty mural. But today, you can actually go into the center and have a view of the center, because again, today we're talking about International Children's Day, talking about International Men's Day. Coming up would be International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Every day is a day.
Good. All right. But yeah, we want to thank you for being here, Doc. I don't know if you have the time. I could take you into a cup of tea. Maybe I could slip a few, maybe?
We will see.
All right, okay. All right, well, if you can't make it, then fine.
But as we're talking about days, ladies and gentlemen, today is the best day in the year. Every day should be the best day in the year. My name is Jumani Juby Cox. Thanks for joining us this morning.
All right, with that, embrace the urgency of today. For tomorrow is a mystery. Better be saying so long.
Because my father name is one. So don't be against me. It's running the family. From the times that I'm a come, I buy me rum and put it down. Hey.